What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Real Estate Served on the Rocks, powered by Living in Colorado, The Mile High Perspective on YouTube, Fathom Realty, and Keller Williams downtown. My name is Charlie Sardelli, and I am here with
Jameson Amaros.
Oscar Ibarra.
And Oscar. Where are we?
We are at Pindustry.
Yeah.
Are we?
Are we? Hey, you know what we don't do, and I said I was going to do, is ask.
We
hey
are
guys,
at McDonald's.
No, ask, subscribe, guys. Early on, opening scene. If you guys liked what we're doing here, or you want to see what we're up to, subscribe so it could shoot you a notification, and this is what we're talking about,
And
whether
give us
you
a
watch
rating.
it or not.
Give us a rating. That's important.
And you know what? It'll help us out. I'm asking.
Yep.
It's an ask.
Absolutely. Well, and honestly, guys, the cool thing about what you guys have been doing for us since we came to the Rouge and partnered with Pindustry, you guys have given us more likes, more views, more followers, subscribers. So seriously, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. And what we want to try and do in 2025, not only for consumers, real estate, but we told you last week we went to a bourbon tasting, whiskey tasting. We're trying to expand that side of the podcast for you guys. Chris is helping us here at the Rouge. We want to do events, all that. So big stuff coming up in 2025.
If you like us, you're our friend. Subscribe. Even
Yeah.
if you don't watch us, it'll help us.
Yes, exactly. We want to get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. That's the goal.
That'd be
Let's
cool.
do it.
That's the goal. But as always, guys, you know, this podcast isn't just about real estate. We drink bourbon. And on today's episode, for me, it's a little special. The bourbon that we're drinking on today's episode is Buffalo Trace. And Buffalo Trace is the bourbon that got me into drinking bourbon.
All right,
And-
no. That's a whole bunch of fluff because they had a really good bourbon, an episode I wasn't here last week, and now he's kind of like, oh, this is special, trying to make me feel better. That's
sorry,
crap.
Oscar. I'm sorry.
No, that's messed up.
Listen,
Oscar's not going to be here. Let's bring the top shelf stuff in.
we all make our decisions, okay? I don't know what to tell you.
No, I know Chris is the one that always brings them in.
bro.
It was just a random.
Some people don't show up. Some people can't come to the podcast. Some people rupture
I
Achilles
had-
while they're
hey,
playing
man,
soccer.
I got-
you know?
I got kids, so I got
Priorities.
bills. I mean,
Priorities.
I love it.
no, but
This is
no,
actually-
sorry.
this would be-
I'll let him keep going. That wasn't fluff. This is like the
Yeah.
gold standard bourbon. That's the way I see
Well,
it.
and what's so telling about Buffalo Trace is I know when I first started drinking it back in 2015, 2016, it was at like $21 a bottle.
Wait, 2015, you started drinking?
Bourbon.
Oh, bourbon.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
I've told you guys that story before, right?
Yeah.
How I
Yeah.
started drinking
Yep.
bourbon, and the reason I say Buffalo Trace is special to me is because when I first started drinking, I couldn't do it neat. I couldn't
Yeah.
do it on the rocks. So I would do Buffalo Trace with a float of Bärenjäger or Bärenjäger. It's a honey liqueur. So you literally do it and then just a little float on top. But the way that the butter and the sweetness of the Buffalo Trace mixed with that honey, it got me into drinking bourbon, then slowly pulled the honey back, and then boom, started drinking straight. And this is a staple for me. Like if I have friends come over and I'm looking to drink a good bourbon but not spend a lot of money, I'm going Buffalo Trace.
Yeah, I will never.
It's just hard to find.
I will
sometimes.
never walk into a liquor store and see this on the shelf and not buy it. If I'm like shopping for bourbon, right?
Yeah.
It's just one of those bourbons that
Unless
I'll go
they're
in.
priced ridiculous.
Yeah,
because they do
sometimes. But like
Yeah.
if I go in, it's $39.
all
I'll
day.
buy it all day, every day. Right.
Yeah.
Same thing if I find Eagle Rare 10-year for $49,
All day.
all day, every day.
Well,
Like,
no, and
there's
that's
just a couple of.
That's a great point, though. I think Buffalo Trace they do Eagle Rare.
Well, Eagle Rare is Buffalo Trace, but aged
Yes.
10 years.
Yes. So it's
Yes.
and that's the whole thing. The
Oh, we had
umbrella-
the early product too. Remember?
yeah
Yeah.
yeah
The brown bag.
yeah. Oh, what was it?
Old time. Oh, what was it? It was
Old Granddad?
old.
No.
No, it
Old
was
Age.
old age.
It was Old Age.
I think it was
Yeah.
Old Age. That's like the
I
2-year.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
2-year.
Yeah.
That's
But-
the shit that they throw away. They decided to bottle it.
Well, hey, can't have any waste. We learned from Mason last week.
Listen, man,
costs a
you
lot.
can get some really good
Excuse
bread
me.
at Panera after they start throwing that shit away the
Right.
day after.
No way.
Right.
I mean, no.
I mean, well, and that's the cool thing about Buffalo Trace is if you guys know Pappy Van Winkle, if you know Blanton's, Eagle Rare,
E.H. Taylor.
E.H. Taylor.
all of those are distilled from this distillery.
Yes.
And if you please check it out, there's what is it called? Whiskey Heist or just Heist?
I think it's the Heist series on Netflix.
On Netflix.
But it's called like Pappy something.
Pappy or something.
So there's a couple of things. There's Pappy Land, which is the book that Julian Van Winkle, I think that's the last name, wrote. He's the
gonna pour this out
the
while you're
nephew.
going.
And then there's also a really good one that I really liked, and it was it was an interview of different distillers and distilleries, and one was Buffalo Trace, was called Neat. On I think it was on Prime, but that was a great documentary.
Yeah.
It talked a lot about a lot of these distilleries, but it followed the first woman own
Yeah.
distillery and master.
Yep.
It was a great series. But Buffalo Trace, I remember they were interviewing their master distiller, and he was talking about he had a bottle of Pappy. I think it was like Family Reserve, so
Yep.
an expensive bottle.
Yeah.
And he had his brother and his father over that he hadn't talked to in some time. It wasn't bad stuff, but he hadn't sat down and had bourbon with them. And he's like, well, special occasion, I'm going to pull out this Family Reserve. And he poured his dad and his brother a pour, and then he was going to cork it. And his dad said, what are you doing? And he said, well, I'm corking the bottle. He goes, no, with a good bourbon,
Let it breathe.
you leave the bottle open until one of two things happen. Either the drinking is done or the bottle is done. He goes, you sip it, you have good conversation, you put it away when it's done. He said I'll never forget that, because I think a month or two later, his father passed.
Yeah.
And then that same year, I think his brother passed.
Damn.
So, I mean, it's a great series, and there's some good emotional pieces to it, which brings me back to the original conversation, that stuff that we tossed away, that new age, that's a big lie, because at the distillery, they do talk about White Dog.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff before it gets barreled.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and not only is this, am I excited because it's Buffalo Trace is a staple, but as always, Chris has gone above and beyond. And you guys will see it if you watch the video version. This is a Pindustry Select barrel. So you can only get this bottle of Buffalo Trace from Pindustry and the Rouge. They actually have the barrel on display in Pindustry. And
Which is super cool.
yeah, it's awesome. So this is the only place that you can get it.
Well, as a refresher, right? Whenever we say barrel select, we literally mean that they will send samples of different barrels to master tasters like Chris himself. He will then pick which barrel it is. That barrel only goes to that individual
Yes.
or that company. So the barrel that they have upstairs, you can't go and let's say there's another private barrel select somewhere else. It's a completely different barrel, different flavor profile, different everything, different char, all of it. So when we say we can only get this here, you can only get this
Only
here.
here.
At the
Understand
Rouge
two
and
things.
Pindustry.
I mean, they have the barrel's empty. They bottled it all for them, and that's what they get to sell or pour for the people here. And on top of that, when it comes to Blanton's it has its own little rick house that gives it its flavor profile. It gets different sun, different shade. So that's why Blanton's is kind of rare and hard to find. But it all depends on where the barrel is stored. It's going to get different profiles and how it's taken care of.
Hot take, I would take this over Blanton's.
100% every day, all day.
Yeah.
You guys know how I
You're
feel
not
about
even
Blanton's.
going to question me.
Right.
I'll be like, I'll take the Buffalo.
Like
Trace.
I enjoy Blanton's, but if I'm looking at the Buffalo Trace family tree, I'll take Buffalo, E.H. Taylor
Yeah.
Eagle
over
Rare.
Blanton's.
So
And Eagle
I'll
Rare.
take I'll
Yeah.
take each Taylor's one of my favorites.
I
I'll
love
take that
each
first and foremost over it.
I got a single barrel select in my house right now. Haven't opened it.
Oof.
Probably won't open it for like 10 years.
I love it.
It's so
So
good.
Probably
what's
open it when you
cool-
take the cast off.
Chris,
Yeah.
so I talked
Same.
with Chris before the
I know
episode when
when
he
you're
handed me
open.
the bottle, and the reason that Chris picked this barrel specifically is because he said it was the only one that stood out with a slightly different flavor to him. So I know what he said. I'm not gonna give it to you guys because I want to get your reaction, especially because we've all had Buffalo Trace
Right.
many times.
Okay.
So I think this is going to be a great testament to our tasting abilities. So let's go ahead and get our noses in it.
You guys are going to have to come to me.
Yeah, we're not gonna make it. Well, cheers now.
Yeah. There we go.
But I mean, oh god, it's Buffalo Trace. So for me, I don't know about you guys, but the thing that always gets me with Buffalo Trace is the sweetness. It's like it's a buttery sweet. It's we talked about it before. It's like that baking.
It's like biscuits.
Yeah, it's like that baking
Like
sweet.
but not a pastry sweet, like the good biscuits at KFC.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You said good biscuits at KFC.
Yeah, I did. And I'll say it again.
But I mean, you always get that butter
Buttery
up
and
front.
flaky.
Yep, you always get that butter up front. And for me, the thing that always blows my mind with Buffalo Trace is how well the oak comes through, like the wood comes through, because it's always the sweetness, especially on the nose, then the oak, then you get a little bit more of that spice.
Hold on, now I'm having issues. So this time of year I get allergies. So I did Flonase. No, I did Flonase this morning. So it's extra pungent. It singes the nose hairs.
Singes the nostrils. I love it.
But again, for
awesome.
me, the nose is very much so on the sweeter, fruity side, not like a fruity candy or a sweeter candy side.
And guys, as always, I know we've been talking this up already, but we're gonna rate this on our 1 to 10 scale. Obviously, last week's whiskey or bourbon that we had was one of the highest rated top 3 that we had. So we are gonna put this up against every other bourbon. Please don't think that just because it's our favorite, we're gonna rate it higher. I'm gonna give you my real answer, my real rock rating on it. Especially because the topic that we're talking about today is really laid back. We've had a lot of information dense episodes for you guys recently. So what we want to do is kind of just talk about an overall topic of just like the gig economy. How has the gig economy affected real estate, and where do we think it can go? What has it led to? How has it affected it? All that kind of stuff. Before we get into that, let's go ahead and get the first sip in. So we already did our cheers, but cheers, boys.
Cheers. Wow.
Okay.
So smooth.
Yep. Well, oh man,
This one's a little bit more.
I love Chris, dude.
Yeah, this does not
Tell me.
taste like regular Buffalo Trace.
I'm gonna tell you that I get a little bit more on like a butterscotch side.
Yeah.
Like it's a butterscotch maple syrup ish.
Yes.
Less on the fruit side. Type of. Hold on. It's silky.
This feels like almost like a special edition, maybe like a Christmassy kind of. I don't know, like Easter
It's got-
candy
you know
kind of.
You know what's got a little bit of a tinge to it is one of our favorites, a Midsummer Night's Dram flavor profile. But I'm getting butterscotch, caramel apple.
You know what I'm getting zero of? Bitter.
Yeah.
There's like no bitter.
There's no, and
The
that's
char's
no
the char's
sour,
there.
no bitter.
The
It's
char's there,
weird.
but that's it. It is. It is.
the char is there to complement that
Correct.
that butter
But
that's
it's
in there. That's sweet.
like a butterscotch candy, like caramel melts.
You know, it's like usually get like a dry bitter or bitter sour kind of with a good bourbon,
making me so
and
happy.
and this one has a smooth burn, if you will, if you like that profile. It's there, so you're like, okay, where's the bitter? Nope, here comes a smooth sweet, and then just the complexity of what a good bourbon is, and it just maintains.
Toasted. I get toasted marshmallow a little bit,
and I like how
almost like a s'more, but
Yeah,
not
that's
as
on
sweet.
the char side
Yep.
of things.
And I think what you're
like
talking
a
about too,
s'more,
Oscar.
but with dark chocolate, not milk chocolate.
Okay.
Like
Yeah, more of that earthy.
it's got
kinda
that
chocolate.
earthy sweetness, but it's not like punchy in the
Yeah.
face type of deal. Yeah.
Well, so and for me, what I love about this is
Maybe it's because
it's-
I haven't had bourbon in like a week because I've been injured.
Yeah.
But
what I love the most about it is it's the spices sit at the back of the profile.
Yes.
Where normally the spice on this sits at the front of the
Correct.
profile.
and the spice is very much there.
Was it-
yeah.
It lingers.
Yeah, it sits on the back of your tongue. It's almost a dryness that sits there. And so the reason I was saying it makes me so happy is because that's when Chris said he chose this barrel because he felt like it flipped the profile of Buffalo
Yes.
Trace and the tasting experience. Where normally it's you get
Sweet forward-
you
or
get smooth,
spice forward.
then it evolves into that sweetness. He
No.
was like, this one's different. It goes sweet, and then it goes into a
yep,
spice,
I agree.
and it's minimal. And so that's why I wanted to do it.
I mean,
Because,
we picked up on it.
yeah,
That's
it's
exactly
awesome.
what it is.
It's
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah.
It's great. But I mean,
Yeah, this is more of a Trace de Buffalo.
yeah. Trace de Buffalo.
Yeah, than Buffalo Trace.
I mean, this is more of a bison.
Also, I hope
Ooh.
this doesn't make me sound like an alcoholic, boys, but this is just one of those bottles. I could
Oh, you pop it. You finish.
I
it.
could kill.
You pop it.
Like,
you
I could
know,
absolutely kill if I was drinking with you guys.
Yeah.
But like, there's a chance that if
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a long Saturday, college football, and I'm grilling out, like I could kill it.
So
easy.
I know I said the story.
I don't
before.
condone that.
Yeah, we don't
throwing it
condone
out
drinking
there.
like that.
Well, and honestly, here's the testament. To be honest with you, I don't think I've ever let a glass of Buffalo Trace open. I think I've always
No, we
drank it
have
fast
because
enough.
no, we have not this.
That's what I
but
mean.
When we were at an old place, we did have Buffalo Trace,
Yes.
and we did leave it open.
Did we?
Oh no, because
that-
JC was still here.
Yeah,
We
did.
don't
now
we
we
don't
do.
talk
You're
about
right.
the old place.
Mhm. We don't talk about the undisclosed location.
So two things. One,
talk about Fight Club.
you know, buffalo. It's not really a buffalo. It's a bison. I've always said that's always been an irk for me because I'm from Colorado. We have freaking bison here, right? It's not a buffalo. It's a bison. So I've always had that.
Can I get the scientific nomenclature of what a buffalo versus a bison
Well,
is?
ask my kids, and they won't tell you it's a cow and a bull. They'll tell you it's a bovine. That's just we nerd out at my
bovine?
house. Yeah,
Jesus
it's a
Christ.
bovine. It's
If you
not a
guys
cow.
didn't see Oscar's social media, he was sporting his child on his shoulders as the steers and stuff walk through the streets of Denver for the
At
for the
15
stock
degrees.
Ooh, hey, speaking of which,
15 degrees.
do you guys want to know a fun fact of trivia?
Sure.
In the United States, okay, this is true. There is not a single bovine or cow that is not owned by a human being. There's
Yeah, I
no
believe
such
that.
thing as a wild cow in the
Interesting.
United States. Every single one you see, doesn't matter if you're in the buttfuck Utah, every single one of them has an owner.
You know what my favorite cow statistic
And
is?
they're not from here. I think
No.
the oldest breed here. I think it's it's like something. It has to do with horns, but it was introduced in 1763 or something like that.
Yep.
You know what my favorite cow statistic is for the United States of America? 30 to 34% of adults in America believe that chocolate milk comes from brown cows.
And greenhouse
And
gases.
this is why
are
I
all
would finish this entire bottle.
And hold
from
on.
cow farts.
Hold on. Let's go ahead and I apologize, guys, but when you correlate that with the fact that in the last 4 elections, 23 to 30% of the U.S. population voted, what does that tell you?
All right, so
Gig economy. Anyway,
where I was going with this Buffalo Trace.
Yeah.
Damn it, I had some good too.
Sorry.
Shit. Oh, the drinking. Don't
if
call me
someone ever
alcoholic.
told that to me, I think I would punch him in the face.
Hold on.
I really do.
Sorry.
I would. I
love
think
it.
I would.
Yeah. It's a lovely
And I think I would either get high fives, right, or thrown in jail. I'm happy with either
Or both.
outcome.
yeah, I'm happy with either.
I really am.
So the whole we don't condone heavy drinking and stuff like that. During the pandemic, obviously there was a lot going on in my life with my daughter.
Including
And stuff.
heavy drinking.
So I was buying the Elijah Craig because we had to hunker down and lock down because my daughter had complications. So I was going out to Costco once a month, maybe twice.
Tell me you were buying the gallon.
No, I was buying 2 or 3, the big
Yeah, the
175s.
gallons, yeah.
And I got to a point where 1 week, it was a rough week. I think I took down to 175. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, crap, man, I may have a problem here. So I went on Reddit on one of the bourbon, connoisseurs, and I said, hey guys, asking for a friend. How long does it take you to take down a 175? LOL. And everybody's chiming in. He's like, oh man. And he goes, you know what? A 175 in my household, maybe, a month, 3 weeks, we'll have some if it's just me. And then another guy's like, you know what? A 175, if maybe 2 weeks, and I'm like, oh fuck, I have a problem. And then this guy comes, he chimes in, he goes, how long did it take you? And I said, I took one down in 6 days. And he goes, cute. He goes, dude, if I had a bad day, I'll take that bitch down in a day, maybe 2. I was like, and there's the winner. I don't feel as bad.
Yeah.
But most of the guys,
Not at the bottom.
yeah, most of the guys that chimed in, they're like, dude, a week isn't bad.
Yeah.
I've taken down one in a week. Even in a good week, I had a drink every night, maybe 2-3 pours. It goes down pretty fast.
Yeah.
And I said, look, guys, I'm not gonna lie. I felt pretty bad when I took one down in 6 days. But it was
the
crazy times.
the 175s will teach you a lesson. When
They
you start
will.
seeing those bottles stack up, you start thinking about things a little bit.
Yeah, your priorities.
more.
Like,
Yeah.
But
Wait a
when you're
second.
taking out the box of empties to your trash, and you're like,
Cha-ching.
oh man, this was a rough month.
Yep.
And then you're like, not only that, that's a lot of money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the garbage man looks at me and my Ring camera just goes,
Shakes.
Now mine looks at me, probably the same guy, but because
Yeah.
I always go out there and go like this, he looks at me and goes, where's mine? And I'm like, dude, you're not.
Go for it.
I had a 175. I don't know what happened
Where
to
were
it.
you? I had
Well,
7.5. I was actually in the backyard drinking.
And speaking about being at home, one thing and the topic for today's episode, we want to talk about how the gig economy has affected real estate. And if you guys don't know the premise behind gig economy, basically what that means is people are having to find areas of revenue and income outside of the normal 9-to-5 work, W-2 work. So what we've seen and why it's called a gig economy is because people are going on Etsy and selling products. They're doing TikTok lives to make a little bit more money. People are finding ways to make money on their own.
So-
Lyft, Uber.
Yep, independent
Airbnb.
gigs.
the Google dictionary definition of gig economy is a labor market characterized by prevalence of short-term contacts or freelance work as opposed to permanent jobs. Working in a gig economy means constantly being subjected to last-minute scheduling.
Well, and that's honestly, like, we're in, technically, if you want to step back, realtors is a gig economy,
Right?
Because we're separate, making money for ourselves on our own time frame, bringing in, and schedules can change that fast. But the unique thing that's happened within the gig economy sphere in the last 5 years since the pandemic, which you guys remember, it just kicked everything off. We're still fighting on getting people back to the office to work, which at the end of the I'm staying on business here. You don't need to be in an office to work. Just, sorry, you don't.
Your office is 4 wheels.
Yep, exactly. And but what's happened is it's changed the real estate landscape in a way that we've almost never seen before, because we talk about the perfect storm of the interest rates that we saw during the pandemic, plus people working from home, and that combination allowed people to move where they wanted. So they could take the equity that they were making. They could, if they're working from home, they went, wait a second, I don't need to live here anymore. I can live wherever I want. And what we kind of want to talk about is how that gig economy is affected and what it's led to. And one thing that I really want to lean on here is migration patterns, right? And being in Colorado, we got hit hard because we got, coming from California, from the West, a lot of those tech guys that can work from home came out here and they had California money. Then the Texas market, a lot of people went, wait a second, I love Austin. Colorado's a lot like Austin, and I have nature, and so they moved out here. And that affected our real estate economy so much because we had an influx of people at a time where homes were easy to acquire. And that's where, Colorado is such an interesting state because you have Denver, you have Castle Rock, Colorado Springs, Fort Collins. In the Front Range, you can get, and I tell my friends this all the time, I love it because you can get entertainment, you can get quality food. We just got our 4th Michelin star restaurant just in the city of Denver. But then what I love about it, and Oscar, we talk about this all the time, is I could turn around and say, bye, and disappear into the mountains for 3 days and be surrounded by nature and not see anybody. That's a very unique landscape to be a part of. And if you can work from home, you can literally go out with your, little tablet or little internet Wi-Fi,
Hotspot?
hotspot, and go work in the middle of the woods. And I've done it before. It's awesome. And so,
And now they got Starlink and stuff like
yeah,
that.
exactly. So what I'm seeing is the migratory patterns, places like Kansas, places like Wyoming, where you have people that weren't so worried about quality of life, and oh no, I don't need all of this. I can move to this place, but they just took that home where they were on half an acre in Florida, in California, Texas, wherever it is, and they went, wait a second, I can take what I made from my home here on a half an acre and buy 3 acres in Wyoming or Kansas because the market's so different. And we saw such a shift of that happening because people could work from home.
Yep.
And I think so. You say perfect storm, but it also, I think it hit at an opportune time because there's not a lot of home ownership right now.
Yeah.
I missed it. I was driving to pick up Jameson, and ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't noticed, Jameson had an accident. And that's, thoughts and prayers. He's dead.
Achilles is supposed to be one.
Heal
tendon.
fast for
it's
him.
It's now 2.
But good vibes his way. But they were talking about the average age of home ownership. And I think they
38.
It was like 70s or 60s compared to now, and it was like a big gap. So the gig economy hit at a good time because there's a misconception is I don't want to be tied down by a mortgage, which that's a conversation that I have with a lot of, we call them I think Henrys, high earners, not ready yet. And I said, look, let me preach to your investment side and money making side. You could buy a house. If you lease something, you're tied in for a year. You buy a house, you're not tied in at all. You could sell at any time. Then you could also invest on it. So with that said, there's a lot of people not ready to buy or they can't buy now. So being able to move or migrate to different states that have a lower cost of living or housing, I think had a big effect on the gig economy.
What do you guys think? And this is just something as we're kind of having this conversation. How do you think the gig economy has or will affect that, I would say, younger generation and how they view investments, specifically from a real estate standpoint?
Oh man, the amount of freedom of thought that will go into it, I think it's game changing because you had, and we're still experiencing this, where you had an entire generation that was basically, you're going to stay at a company, you're going to work there for 20 years. It's worth it to do that. And then they're going to take care of you and move out. What this generation has grown up seeing, not only is the fact that you can work from home and meetings can be done over Zoom, whatever it is, but choice. They've seen that you have choice. You're not locked in because, oh, I want to work from this company, or I want to work for this company, I have to be here. And that's why we're seeing this big shift, I think, of guys, I choose experience over income.
But here's another side of that coin. I think history repeats itself. It's been history of that. That's what happens, and the novelty of something that is different will always feed into the current state of what we're doing. Like my kids, say Nolan, my son's 7, he's gonna be 7. I don't know what his generation's gonna do. I think like our generation, millennials, at least I'm on the upper echelon of that, of the older millennials. My parents, which is probably the same age as your parents, they said get that secure job with benefits, get a good hourly wage and earn your money, buy a house. But then our generation's like, well, entrepreneurship. There's a lot of entrepreneurs in the millennial, the upper echelon, and even the whole millennial side, going down to the Gen Z. But we had a different upbringing, right? So we're like, we're gonna grind it out. We're gonna work. Where, Sawyer, my 14-year-old, he's part of the generation that's starting to either make money or going into that. They just want it, right? Because they see that we put in work. It's going to tie in. So I think the migratory stuff and live wherever, the novelty of that will die down. And I think the generation from Nolan, I don't know what generation he is. There's so many.
So I will give you.
I think they're going to sprout roots and then go back to buying houses and staying, having a home base at least.
The only reason that I would go against that is the introduction of streaming. And because we knew people, if I want to be on TV and make money, if I want to make money in entertainment, I got to be movies, television, news, whatever it may be. They're growing up literally watching people like Kai Cenat, Speed, that are making millions of dollars, and all they need is an internet connection. So
even Nolan, I mean, he's not of the generation of Mr. Beast.
Yeah,
he loves his show. Yeah. He knows who he is. But what I'm saying is the novelty of having this freedom of not having a home base, I think will end up dying down, and they'll come back to like, all right, home base is here. We can go anywhere. We can make our money here, home base, but then I get to travel. Okay. Because I have this conversation with a couple good friends. They want to go to Florida so bad, and I have family in Florida. Yeah. It's kind of like me saying, I want to go to New York. You're going to have a different opinion, right? Yeah. A very different opinion, right? So that's kind of how I am with Florida. I mean, I love Florida. It's a great place to visit. I'm more of I like the winter. I do stuff in the winter. I love my mountains and stuff. But they're
ice fishing, weird.
I love ice fishing. I love hiking. I love doing stuff here in Colorado. This is home. I've tried living in Florida and Texas, but they look at me like I'm crazy when they bring up, hey, we could spend a whole week at Clearwater. We live there, and I'm just like, dude, I could take maybe 2 days in Clearwater, and I want to go home. There's different opinions of stuff like that, right?
I like the idea of a home base, especially because
I could visit Florida whenever I want.
Yeah, well, it also ties into the fact that it could give them, when you have the freedom to live in a area that has lower cost of living with lower home prices, you can get that home base, that safety area where you can live in extravagance, you can come back to it, but then you can now make the money digitally. You can now make the money outside of that home, which gives you the freedom to travel. So I definitely think I love where you're going with it as far as a home base, but I feel like with the introductions of things like tiny homes, with the introductions of like I said, streaming internet.
And I still think that is also a phase.
You think so?
I think so. I mean, the van living and all that stuff, I think it's a novelty and it's a phase because I kind of equate it to camping. I love camping. I love roughing it. But when I'm done, I'm done. I want to come take a hot shower.
When I went to the last summer, when I went to the Tiny Home Festival in Thornton, it changed my mind. Only because I saw the level of production and the amount of money that's going into it, and where I would agree that it would be a novelty is if it was what it was 10 years ago, where it was harder to acquire. It was a harder thing to do.
Take it easy.
It was a harder thing to do, but now it's become so quote unquote mainstream that there are dedicated companies that are like, hey, I mean, we talked about it. Amazon has, you can order a house for 30 grand. You know, like I think because the market is opening to the availability of it, I think it's here to stay more so than it would have been if it wasn't there, to your point.
Screw it. I'm going to say it. We're going to do it.
Yeah. Oh boy.
We're going to do it.
We're committing to it.
We're committing to it.
We're buying land and
We're going to
investment.
figure out a way. Maybe we get an investor involved,
Mm-hmm.
but we will figure out a way to buy some land, and we will order one of those $30,000 houses and build it, and we'll show you.
So here's
let's put it to the
Let's do it,
test.
yeah.
It's the only way to do it.
so here just to go back to my original question, right? Like, how would it affect the real estate side, gig economy wise? I think the gig economy is broken up into two different groups of people, right? Group one is the lazy people. They want to be able to work on their own time, make enough to get by, and have the freedom and flexibility to go Lyft or Uber or DoorDash or do freelance, this, that, and the other. Okay. And they're going to make essentially the same amount they would make at an $18 an hour, $25 an hour job pre-pandemic. But the difference is they realize, well, I can make the same amount of money and not have to be beholden to a boss or KPIs or anything else. Right. Mm-hmm. I think those people, to me, like that portion of it, I think will be a phase. I agree. Because eventually the lack of benefits, no 401k,
Yep.
not
Insurance is
spending
hard.
habits, insurance, like that will catch up to them, and they'll end up going back to, all right, well, if I'm going to do this, I might as well just do it at a job that I don't love, but at least I get benefits and 401k and all that kind of stuff, right? But the second piece of this, and I think this is where the shift I think we're going to see in the next 10 to 15 years, is the gig economy for the entrepreneurial side.
Yes.
Where they say, hey, I have an idea, or I've got a business, something that I am running as my, like, this is what I'm going to do. But I'm also going to do this on the side to supplement income and have multiple revenue streams. Those are the individuals that are going to look at real estate, I think, and go, how, because I maybe don't want to be tied down, I want to do short-term this, I want to have the flexibility to be here, there, everywhere. I think we're going to see an influx of this younger generation getting into real estate investing because they have understood that if I have a successful business, but multiple revenue streams are the key to being free.
And I want to stop. Have you guys have you watched Kai Cenat at all, the streamer?
Yeah.
Have you watched? No. Have you seen, how about Sketch?
Yes.
You've seen Sketch?
Nope.
Have you seen Sketch? Okay. The reason I bring it up is because what these guys are doing, it's incredible. They will go and rent a multi-million-dollar home.
Yes.
Like $3 million home for a month. So they have the ability to create content in a higher area of living. But while they're doing that, they are purchasing real estate. Mm-hmm. So it's, and they're talking about purchasing real estate. That's the crazy part. Is Kai said, oh yeah, my investments sit in, I own 2 homes. I bought my mom's house. And I think he's like, what, 25, 26? The amount of knowledge that these younger kids are going to have strictly because of the internet.
That's my point,
Yeah.
because they're going to have those people to look up to. So I do think the entrepreneurial side of it is going to continually I think we're going to see a resurgence in real estate investing. And I think that it's going to be in that area of not necessarily like tiny homes, but short-term rental, high turnover, desirable places to live because they realize multiple streams of income. If I'm making money and I can reinvest it into something. And the reason I say this is because with the gig economy, the one thing it did do, I think, is it made people very hyper aware of what they are worth per hour.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely.
Because if I go, and we'll take Best Buy for example, right? I worked at Best Buy. If you work hourly at Best Buy, you work a 9 to 5 shift, 9 to 6 shift, whatever it is, you're getting paid $17.50 an hour. Well, in that time frame, you may get your ass kicked, and then there may be 3 hours where you don't do shit, right? But you get paid the same because you're clocked in. If you go to the gig economy, right, and let's say I'm driving for Uber or Lyft, you're seeing in real time the amount of money you're making per ride, and then all of a sudden you get really hyper aware that, holy shit, I just sat here for 2 hours and made $0.
Did you guys make commission over at Best Buy?
No.
Not while we were there, but
Not
they
while we were
did.
there.
They did shift they shifted
Certain
it
ones
and
did.
then shifted it back.
Yeah, certain ones.
So
did.
like,
but my point is
that
that hyper awareness of like, holy shit, my time is actually worth something. I think is going to bleed into this younger generation. And then they're going to realize if I invest in real estate, now I am making money without having to sacrifice a ton of time. And that's why I think from a real estate standpoint, I think you're going to see a resurgence of people finding these highly sought after areas and investing their money into those
Well,
areas.
and I think with your analogy, a lot of people are realizing that it's not how much money you're worth, but how much money your efforts are worth.
Correct.
Because back then there was no real way to tie that in. And I remember early on in my career, early on, my first 5 years, I went to a seminar called Quantum Leap, and Mo Abbasi was was the speaker for Keller, and he was talking about, making money and how, you should structure your time management. And there was a retired lady that came in and said, look, I don't need to make six figures, $1 million. I could survive off of 50K. I want to spend time with my grandkids. Don't bother me.
Right.
And Mo said, okay, well, let me switch it over for you a little bit, and let me switch your frame of thought. He said, if you can survive, or your goal is to make 50K but spend time with your grandchildren, let me enrich your life even more. Let me show you how you can make $50,000 in 2 months and then take 10 months to spend with your grandchildren.
Exactly. Yes.
And that was the
So it's your
mindset shift that I
efforts.
had.
It's your efforts,
Yep.
not what your time
And
is
that's
worth.
like I said, that's the mindset shift that I had when I started all of this, going from 9 to 5, Best Buy, all that kind of stuff, into this more gig economy where realtor, videography, all that kind of stuff. That's what switched for me. Is I was of the mindset of, I know what I need to be comfortable. I know what I need to live my life and enjoy it. But then it comes in and go, okay, that's for you. But what about your kids?
Right.
What about your wife? What about, and
Because,
that goes,
okay.
I can live on 50K, but if I can live on, I know I can live comfortably on 50K, but I'm making 100. What is that other 50 going to do for me?
My biggest thing is, so I have a few masterminds, and obviously you guys, I'm pretty knowledgeable and good at my job. Would you call me a good realtor as far as knowledge and everything?
Yeah. We got you on the podcast for a reason, Oscar.
Well, and the thing is that we were talking about the two sides of our industry. A good realtor is, in the consumer's eye, one that has a lot of knowledge and does a great job. And then in the industry, that kind of really doesn't mean a lot. It's numbers, right? Who can crank out as many numbers? That's a great real estate agent. And it's a fine line to kind of balance both. But most of the guys are like, you need to grind, Oscar. You should be killing it. But I do enjoy my family and my time. So sometimes that does reflect my year. And then sometimes I'm like, this year I'm just going to go grind it out. I'm not going to spend a lot of time with my family. But, and I hear what you're saying, because I'm a lot like that too. Now, if I didn't have a family, I think I'd still enjoy my hobbies.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's what I think, to Jameson's point about the gig economy, is it's given individuals the freedom to do just that and go, oh, wait, I can work this amount of time and enjoy my life to this level. Right. And I think that's something that we haven't experienced before, because everybody was chasing the American dream. Everybody had to work the 9 to 5.
And what does that look like nowadays?
Right?
I mean, that's the cliche, the American dream.
Yep.
It has shifted so much.
Absolutely.
Especially in the last 10 years.
I was going to say, if you ask me, the American dream is to be able to put food on your table and enjoy yourself.
Yeah,
like that.
Because back in the, into the 80s,
Yeah.
It was get married, white picket fence, own your house. That was the American dream. Put a car in your garage, maybe 2 cars,
Yep.
2-car garage now. It's shifted so much in the technological era.
Absolutely. And
Now it's like tiny home, park it anywhere. Well, it's not even a tiny home, because tiny home's just, stationary.
Yeah.
It's van life or whatever that looks like, and just be wilding out. Like what I think, and our buddy Shelby kind of talks about this. Like we're a bit of a experienced foodies, and he doesn't care about that. Like he rather gives his kids and his family experiences. Like he
So-
travels a lot. And everybody has a different, what does that look like? What do you do with your cash?
I just recently watched a show on Netflix, and it was called Winning the Wilderness. And basically what it did is they took a bunch of couples, like 8 or 9 couples, and they threw them. There's this older couple that
By the way,
basically-
this is just getting
Yeah,
crazier and better.
I know. I every time I sip it, I'm like, oh, shit.
It opens up well.
But they took 8 couples, and they basically gave them an opportunity to own a home in the wilderness in Alaska that was already built. And what was interesting to me was the demographic of people that were there. They had social media influencers. They had people who owned farms. They had younger couples. And one of the final couples in the show, and I'll get to my point, I promise. One of the final couples in the show, they started at the beginning of the show saying, you know what, we came out here to see what it would be like to, what the property looks like, but we're kind of nomadic. We don't
Yeah.
we never really planned on settle down. We're free. We're wild. We like to do these things. So to your point, at the end of the show, it's the opportunity of having a home base that they love, that they felt comfortable in. They went, you know what? I could see we could settle here. We could do this. And I think that's the overall experience of real estate. And as somebody who wants to do the tiny home, the van life stuff, once you get to experience what that home ownership looks like, what it's like to go, I don't want that wall to be there. I'm going to break it down. And you get to fully customize your living space coming from somebody who's living in an apartment currently, right?
I'm constantly working on my
Yes.
house.
But you get to customize it. It becomes a den, and I think that's the thing that may shift a little bit is we'll see everybody going, oh, I want to buy my rental homes. I want to have, but after they do that for a while, they start to get a kid. They have a dog, a couple cats. Well, I can't really travel very much, and I want my family to be comfortable, so they'll move that direction. And I don't know. You mentioned earlier, Oscar, about, just overall commitment to time and growth. And that's with the gig economy is a lot of people, they start the gig economy and they think, oh, I'm going to do Amazon reselling. I'm going to do whatever it may be.
That's interesting, Amazon reselling.
And it is, but they step into it. And if you're not of the entrepreneurial mindset,
Right.
the gig economy will not work for you because you won't be able to have enough grit.
Well, it'll work for you, but again, you fall into one or two categories.
Yeah.
I'm just going to stay comfortable. I don't want a boss, or
Yes.
I'm going to use this to catapult myself to something else. And I think the other big piece of this with the migration, and you talk about the idea that most people eventually funnel down to is, I want a home base, right? Well, with the ability to work from home, I think it has made it, from a housing market standpoint, much harder to predict what specific markets are going to be most valuable, are going to grow, because people have the opportunity, like, you know what, I love my job, but I don't live where I live, right? So let's say I'm fully remote, 100%, and I live in, I don't know, Castle Rock, Colorado. Let's just say.
And a job will keep you somewhere.
No,
right?
but
If you
my
can only get a
point-
job here, you're going to stay there.
But my point is, if you have a
that's
job
the biggest
and you're 100%
anchor, I guess.
remote, which is what we've seen, right? I can sit there and go, you know what? I've always wanted to check out Walla Walla, Washington, and I can work just as easily in Walla Walla as I can in Castle Rock. So
Please
let
tell
me
me
go check
that
out
took
Walla
place.
Walla, right?
Yes. Mhm.
Jesus.
Previously, you couldn't predict migration patterns.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you could predict migration patterns because they would center around city centers,
Big
and
cities. Mhm.
highly populated areas, right?
Areas that had good paying jobs.
But now you all of a sudden have these areas that are blowing up that shouldn't. Raleigh, Durham, Charlotte, Omaha, Walla Walla, Washington.
Shit, let's bring
Boise,
it back.
Idaho.
Let's bring it back local.
Whatever.
Look at Reunion and Firestone.
Right.
What's going
Yes.
on there right now?
Right.
I mean, you could go to Firestone, old Firestone, find a dilapidated home for $280,000. Somebody in Denver who is in a 800 square foot apartment but is making $200,000 a year because they work in tech, they're going, wait a second, I don't have to live here. I can own a car.
Right.
I can have the freedom. I don't have to use public transit. They're going to take that and they're going to move out to those areas. And that's kind of the next step of this too. And I'm glad that we kind of rolled into it. Is it's not only migratory in the country; it's migratory within markets.
Sure.
And what we've seen that so heavily, Denver, for the first time in 2023, 2024, saw a decrease in population. And it's
They're
not
booming out in state.
Exactly, moving out of the city, in state, to places like Idaho Springs, to places like Alamosa down by.
Or you don't even have to go that far. Kingsburg.
Yeah.
You just head out to Prairie. But you know what's crazy is, and you now live in one place, and I'm going to compare it to the other. Castle Rock is going to be the next Highlands Ranch. It's getting expensive. It's getting crazy, and it's getting populated fast.
So
Yeah,
actually, Castle
fast.
Rock was actually when I looked at her, typed it into Google or whatever. Castle Rock is actually the fastest growing now in 2024. Beat out Aurora for fastest growing city.
And in Alaska, it'll kick your ass.
Yeah.
I've had some friends that lived out there. It's just a different animal that people don't understand, which I'm not even surprised that those people had that realization out there.
You know what the thing is, though?
It'll help you find yourself fast.
The thing with the migration pattern, and I think, yes, it's become less predictable with being able to work from home, work from anywhere, work remote. People don't have, specific ties. The interesting part, though, and I've got buyers right now that actually were stationed out in Anchorage, and they're looking to move back here. People will always gravitate towards, by and large, not everybody, right? But by and large, people will gravitate towards amenities.
Oh, yeah.
And I still believe that even with the influx of people being able to work wherever, the communities, if you want to predict like, hey, where would I want to invest or whatever, if you pick the communities that have nearby amenities, whether that's outdoor, indoor, entertainment, dining, whatever it is, those are going to be the areas outside of the main metropolitan cities that are going to attract, whether it's single, families, Henrys, what else?
I'm a
Dual
dink.
income,
Doinks.
dinks, doinks,
I'm a dink.
Dilfs.
all of it, right? Dinks, doinks, dilfs, Henrys,
I'm a dink.
Sarah's, whatever it is. Like
Dorothy's.
there's still going. There's
Betty's.
such a small subset of people that are going to move to an area that does not offer some sort of amenity, community,
Comfort.
convenience,
Well,
whatever. You
and
know what I'm
then-
saying? Like that's what it is. So that's why you see things like, for one of the best examples I can think of in recent history in Colorado is Windsor, Colorado. Okay, Windsor is a planned community. It's smack in between Loveland and Fort Collins. There is nothing out there. Okay. What
Oh, they
Windsor-
had one of the biggest broadcasting radio stations in the 80s. You could only hear at night. FM kind of gets sketched
Yeah.
back in the day, but Windsor had a broadcast that you could hear from here to New Mexico.
Yeah,
That's
but
cool.
what
Weird. Fun fact.
That's cool.
But
Weird
what
stuff.
Windsor did was
Love
they
Windsor.
didn't just build houses.
Nope.
They built the amenities 1st,
That's the way to
and
do
then
it.
built the community around it. And now, if you go to Windsor, it's
Well,
absolutely insane. You know what
That,
I'm saying?
what about Aurora Highlands?
Correct. Same
Check it
thing.
out. Check out the community spotlight on the YouTube
But
channel.
and here's the difference because Windsor, I'm curious to see what their taxes are, because when you go to a community like Reunion, Highlands, Aurora, and even anywhere in Adams County where they're still building, the taxes are 1.8, I believe, of the mill levy, which equates to 1.8 of the purchase price. So if you're buying in the sevens, you're looking at $9,000 a year on taxes.
Yeah, but-
and Windsor did it because you need to build that infrastructure somehow.
Sure.
And that's how it gets paid, right?
Sure.
Windsor did it the other way around. I wonder what their taxes are and if they stayed low.
Right. I think
That'd
they
be a
did.
good
As
research.
far as I know, they did.
That
But
and
it's
that's
also-
awesome. I think that's the right way to.
And it's also, it has nothing on like a New York, right? You go to Rochester, New York, which is one of the hottest real estate markets in the country right now. You buy a $400,000 house, you're paying $13,000 a year in taxes.
Maine,
You know
Maine
what I'm
has
saying?
ridiculous taxes
So
too.
I think that's an important distinction because as people are looking, and again, our whole idea, the whole conversation is like, how is the gig economy going to affect the real estate market going forward? I think you're going to see these pockets
yes.
of new developments and new areas that are going to be centered around entertainment, convenience, hyper localized. Where
Now, is
people
that a
don't have
smart
to
move?
leave.
Which I think so, because now
think it
you're
depends on what
now,
you're looking
now
for.
you're kind
I'll-
of you're
I'll
kind of
give you-
spreading out, which is good. But what is that going to do to
I'll give you
the metropolitan area?
Well, not only that,
exactly.
but the local. So I'll give you a great example.
is it
Western
going to
North
go
Carolina.
Detroit in the 80s?
Well, no, Western North Carolina right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so before they had the hurricane that came through and decimated the area, they were, I know personally, people in where I came from, a town of 3,200, they're getting priced out of their homes because people from Florida are going, whoa, wait, I got rivers, I got nature, I got 2 casinos, I got a lake, and they're getting priced out because this money is coming in and upping this because these people, exactly to your point, they find this microclimate of culture.
Yes.
And they want to embrace it. They want to move into it. And so is that good or bad for the
Have you
local
guys ever
market?
heard of Danville, Virginia?
No.
Have you?
No.
So Danville, Virginia is on the border of Virginia and North Carolina, kind of in the Appalachian Mountain Valley, right? And it
Beautiful
is a
part
town
of the United States of America.
of 1,700 people, okay?
Mhm.
But Caesars Entertainment went in there and built a 2,500 room resort and casino,
More than the population.
more than the population.
Cherokee.
Why?
Cherokee Casino.
We were talking about this. They knew something.
Yep.
Right.
We were talking about Open Door
And
earlier.
it's the same thing, right? It's because it's got nature, it's got trails, it's got infrastructure, and people want to get away, but still want to have the convenience of, I want a luxury resort, this, that, and the other. So I think that, to me, that is the biggest impact of the gig economy and
Yes.
everything, is you're going to start to see these areas pop up that you would have never thought would have been popular 10 years ago.
Okay, so then
So,
let's talk
all
about
right,
this.
so
what about the investment opportunity there?
Exactly.
So, but okay, you guys have been Metro Denver.
Yep.
We're pretty populated here.
Yeah.
Have you guys been out east?
Like,
Have I been out east?
what do you
Like
mean?
Hugo?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yoder?
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, it's
I tell
there's a
people-
lot of land out there.
I tell people all the time,
A lot
especially like
of land.
friends and family, what people moving into Colorado, out of state into Colorado, do not understand is that still to this day, more than 50% of the state is undeveloped because it can't be.
And then we're not talking about the mountains.
No.
Because believe it or not, there's a lot of building
Well, all I
going
gotta
on
do is
over
look
there.
at so
So
Los
Mo-
Angeles has 4
Moffett-
million people, right? Los
Moffett-
Angeles, the city, has 4 million people living in Los Angeles. The entire state of Colorado is at 3.9 million.
I think we were closer to 5.
No, because we lost people last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then to blow your mind even more, our whole state is, would you say 3.5 mil?
4 mil.
4 mil.
Call
Let's
for
go
it.
4 million. Our whole state. It's a very big state.
And
We're
they're
big.
in-
We're a big square, right? Manhattan.
Don't even get me
New
started.
York.
Don't even get me
How
started.
big is that? You could
Right.
fit that in our downtown.
Oh, easily.
What is the population of just that? Not the
Easily.
state of New York.
Over
but
20 million.
in that little island.
Yep, I'm going this week, and I'll let you know how
It's
disgusting it is.
fucking insane. If you realize what our whole state.
Yep.
I could go out 45 minutes east from here
They have so
and
many,
be the only person within 5-mile radius.
They have so many people living there and buildings on it that the island of Manhattan is sinking at centimeters a year.
Yeah.
It is
I
literally.
mean, you do
the
have
island-
Central Park.
But the island is sinking because of how many buildings and people
Right.
are on it, right? And it's just
it's insane.
it is, and the other part is you hear people like Elon Musk, Nick Cannon, oh the population is going down, we need more people, and yes, that is happening.
Where in New York?
Just across the
Well, it actually, I mean, it is.
in the world, it is.
Oh.
It's slowing down. The growth is slowing down, but there's a lot of factors that go into it. Like, we're not making more land. The cost of living isn't as easy as it should be.
And right of mind of sustainability
Yeah.
of who we are as a species.
There's a fun study I read the other day that was showing over the course of the next 25 years, we're going to flip from a housing shortage to a housing surplus because of the lack of births
Yep.
in the
And
United
what's
States
crazy is
alone.
like look at the statistics over in China, right? They've
Yep.
played with that a lot from not allowing more than 1 or 2 children, and they want to just males, not females, and
Yep.
the ratio between male and female in China. That's insane when you start messing with that kind of stuff.
absolutely.
But if we do it out of choice, it's a different story, right?
Yes.
And that's kind of what we have here. Are you going to have any more children? Are you going to have any children?
I would like to have 1 and/or 2.
Okay, I have 2 biological children, but look at our parents and then their parents. They were 5 to 6.
My mom was 1 of
8.
7.
Yeah.
That's
My mom was
insane.
1 of 7
We think
also.
about that and we're like, holy crap. My brother is 20. I want
Caitlin's
to say
1 of 6.
27.
Yeah.
My brother's 27. I don't know. I don't know if he'll have children. My sisters-in-law, Anya, she's
But that's what I'm saying. It's a
30s.
lot
I don't think
easier.
she's gonna have, but it's a choice and realizing what we have now, right? It's a generational
Yeah.
thing. So I'm wondering what that like you said, it's gonna be
Well,
a
it's a lot easier
surplus.
to move, right? It's a lot easier
Well,
to move
and not
with
only
1
that-
kid versus 3.
Not only that, we talk about
Live.
we
It's
talk
a
about-
lot easier to live with 1 than 3.
But we
It's
also
a game
talk about the
changer.
perfect storm and things going on at the right time. Not only are we seeing a decrease in the growth of our population, we're also coming up on one of the largest generations in American history dying. Mm-hmm. And,
Oh man, it's an insult now, right?
Well, but they
Boomer.
Yeah,
Jesus,
but it's
insulted
true.
me by calling me a generational
But it is true.
characteristic.
They sit on their properties.
Yes,
They are not
age and place is what it's called.
yeah, age
Well,
and place.
they put out the American dream kind of
Yeah.
statistic out there, and then they positioned themselves at a good time, and then they just wrote it right.
Yeah.
Out of all the generations, they're the ones that were like they were in control for a while, and then
But
they did what they
But
did,
they're
and
also
then
the generation that said, "I'm gonna die in this house."
Yeah.
like they're not letting go
because they were so, I think, just nailed down to that American
Yeah.
dream. This is what it's going to be like, and this is and you can't not force them out of it.
Yep.
Like I'm not moving. This is where I laid roots.
Well,
This is where I'm going to die.
So not only that, but
And
the
then but they install a little bit to their kids, and now you have these generational homes that 2-3 generations lived. It was my parents' home. I inherited. Now it's mine, and they're not moving it because now it's
or
a
they'll be smart enough to turn that into a rental and purchase their own
and-
property.
and they don't even rent them. There, it's just like the house becomes a what is it called when you have a generational trinket?
like a hand-me-down.
No, yes, but it's like
Yeah, I know what you're
worth
saying,
more.
yeah.
When when your grandmother passes you down a ring that your grandfather bought and an heirloom.
Heirloom.
Their houses are
Yeah.
freaking heirlooms now.
Yep.
And they're not going to move them, and they're falling fucking apart, but they've owned it since 1800s. You have a lot of that shit too.
Well, I think that's a whole other conversation because if you look at, back, call it 30 years ago, right? And you look at a 67-year-old 30 years ago, basically an invalid, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you're in assisted living, right?
Yes.
Now you look at a 69-year-old, AKA for my football fans, Pete Carroll, who just got hired as the head coach for the Los Angeles Raiders. Mm-hmm. Right. So now we're starting to shift. Like, yes, they're aging in place, but I think part of that is due to medical advances. As
Speaking of
far as
medical
being able
advances.
to age in place independently.
Yes.
Because people are just healthier. Don't mind my foot. That's not me. I'm just saying it's healthier. The other piece of this is when you look at the demographics, right? And you, to your point, Oscar, like you've got people that are having less kids. They're having them later in life. The priorities are shifting. And I think that's an important thing to take into account. And that's, again, why I still think that you'll start to see this big shift into this entrepreneurial mindset. And at the end of the day, the one thing, and I think this is super interesting, that after all these trends and fads and streaming versus this versus whatever,
TikTok shop.
the one constant is real estate investing.
Yeah.
And hold on, before I forget, that kind of I don't want to agree with the statement of the fact of I don't want everybody to be entrepreneur. It's not sustainable as a society. We need
No, I agree.
We need
I agree.
engineers. We need a lot of the traits out there that are not being touched, and it happened during our time during COVID. We had a lot of the labor work boom out of Colorado during COVID when or before COVID when the builders stopped building, that labor work boomed out to the oil rigs.
Yep.
And then they were out there working, and when it went back into place, they skipped Colorado, they went to Texas and other states, and we had a labor shortage.
Yeah.
And now, if you try to get any kind of handyman or any remodel done in your home, it's at a premium. One, there's a shortage. Two, there's a shortage of good labor work. You're either going to get a good handyman, if you will, that's going to do the job right, but it's going to be at a premium, or you're going to get someone that's okay, but then there's so much work that you might not even get them in, or you're going to be priced out. So anyway, with that said, we kind of need to look at the bigger picture as a society, and this is outside of our conversation in real estate, but my humanitarian mind is going, well, if we want to be a well-working rig, we have to look at everything. And I think right now, and I love playing devil's advocate, as a society here in the United States, it is
At this point, I think
it's
you're the devil's personal lawyer, but go ahead.
it's virtually impossible. It's virtually impossible to be a self-sustained society here in the United States.
Of entrepreneurs.
Of anything, because we need labor work and we need production, and we can't do it here in the States. So again, I know I got a lot of hate mail from this last post, and here's, I guess, the other coin of that. The current administration is crazy to think that we could be a self-sustained society here in the United States. We kind of need the rest of the world because we cannot afford to have U.S. Americans work for 5 cents a day.
No.
It just doesn't matter, and we're going to lose out
called
a lot.
fair trade. There's a theory.
Right,
It's an
and we're
economic
gonna
theory called fair trade.
And not
is
only
what he's
that, the
talking about.
currency difference and all that stuff, because maybe $1 here won't go anywhere, but $1, let's say in Vietnam, you could buy at least a meal or two, right? So it's all systemic, and we gotta
I love it.
figure out how to bring it all together. We cannot do it only in America and just kind of like shut down from the world. We can't.
You said it. Only in America.
America.
Only in America.
But anyway, again, that's
No,
the other side of the coin, people. For people that gave me hate because we had
I
Trump
love
doing this.
how rounded this conversation has been, and it has felt natural, a flow state. Everybody, let us know if you like episodes like this. Let us know, because I enjoyed the
Do you like us arguing?
just the conversation. No, honestly,
I could
no, it was
argue
a
all day.
It was a conversation.
No,
I tell you, I
it was a
love
great
you at the end of the day,
conversation,
but we're gonna argue.
I think this is a good time to move into the One Rock takeaway for today's episode. I'll take it if you guys don't
Go
want
for
it. Okay.
I got
so,
one too, but
So
Or
my
should I
One
keep
Rock
messing with the
takeaway.
cord? You just told me not to mess with the
No,
cord.
it's okay. So my One Rock takeaway for today's episode is be aware of migratory patterns, economic trends, these little things, because there is a large market. Like I just said earlier, as far as investment goes, if you know and you're aware of the fact that, what was it, Walla Walla, Washington, or
Have you guys ever been there?
Walla
No.
Walla Bing
Dude,
Bang.
it's beautiful.
but if
Wine
you know,
country. It's
if you
amazing.
know Walla Walla, Washington, or you know,
It's a real
Silva,
place, by the
North
way.
Carolina, Cullowhee, North Carolina, whatever it is, and you see these places that are like, wait a second, they have an infrastructure, they have a good quality of life, they have some jobs available. Invest there. Go and say, hey, I spend 2 years there, see if you like it. If you don't, sell it, make the equity growth. If you do, keep the rental there. But capitalize on these shifts that are happening and be aware of what's going on, because it's only going to benefit you in the future. That's my one rock take.
I'll take it if you don't mind. I'll piggyback on Charlie. Take the scary word investment out of it. You need somewhere to live. You need somewhere to call home. Why not do it through the realm of real estate? Because it will turn into an investment, or at the end of the day, it's going to be for savings, and you're going to benefit from that anyway. You're going to benefit either way. You get to travel the world. Hey, you want to go to Walla Walla Bing Bang? You live there for a year. That's fine. You don't like it, you sell it, or you rent it and you go do it again. You're not tied down. Take the investment scary part off. You could do it within the realm of just your residence and then turn it into an investment. So, tour the world if you want. Tour it with a little bit of a cash flow if you can.
I can't tell you how pissed off I am that I love Colorado so much.
Oh yeah, you're preaching to the choir.
I think about moving back to North Carolina. Consider it
Same, bro.
And it's I can't.
No,
I
it's
love
too nice. It's just
I
too
love
good. It's too
everything about living here, the culture, the people, the nature, the everything. And I am that person that's going, take the investment, the scariness out of it, because I do not want to sacrifice my quality of life to pay less money.
No, so
That's
what
it.
you do is you go buy a short-term rental.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. And make my quality of life
Because
better
you
here.
probably buy one for like $50K and then 20% of $50K.
And then you can use it whenever you want. When you go back to North Carolina, you get a place to stay.
Yep.
Case in point, we need to go back to the Ozarks.
Yep.
Right? Or Costa
same.
Rica. If we want to just leave the country. Just
I
saying.
mean,
I got, dude,
We got
$250,
we
bro.
got to do the Amazon
Just
house
saying.
in Costa
I want to
Rica.
do Costa Rica.
Done.
Yes, please,
Telling
let's
you.
do Costa Rica.
Telling you.
I've been wanting to go for a while.
I'm telling you. I was trying to get my 40th in Costa Rica, but we're going to go Vegas instead, I think. Which
I thought it was
It's going to
Arizona.
be a good time.
Or Arizona. We haven't decided yet. I
Gonna be
think
a good
I think it might be Vegas because it's cheaper.
You gotta let me know because it's.
I'm not in charge of that.
The difference is how I'm gonna work on my base 10.
Why? It's the same. They're like 2 hours apart.
I don't
It's
know.
not the same.
There's more.
If we go to Vegas, my ass is staying indoors. If
What?
we go to
It's in
Arizona,
October.
no, swip it around. Oh yeah, it's October.
It's
No,
October.
still,
Okay, one rack takeaway.
Arizona's scary.
One rack takeaway.
Anyway,
So my one rock takeaway is this. We talk about real estate all the time and looking at trends and trying to make decisions as consumers. And I think the overall conversation was when we look at the gig economy, how does it affect the real estate market? My one rock takeaway is I believe we are going to continue on this trend, specifically because of something like the gig economy and the ability to move freely within areas of the United States that we wouldn't normally see as like, why would somebody move here?
desirable.
Yes, I think that real estate is going to continue to become hyper localized.
Yes.
And I think that is why it is important to find people that understand that, whether or not, and again, this is for consumers that are looking to buy, sell, invest. Find somebody, a realtor that understands that dynamic. Because as we continue to say, back in the day, it was, all right, millennials went to the city to work. That's where they were going to buy houses. Then as they retired, they went to the suburbs, and that was the migration pattern throughout the United States. That is clearly not the same thing now.
No.
Now it is based on what amenities, what comforts, commute style, if I'm working remote, where I want to, whatever that looks like. It's given people so much freedom and flexibility that the hyper locality of real estate has become paramount to where you want to live. And I think it is important to understand that as you are potentially looking at either buying a permanent residence or a short term or a long-term rental, whatever it looks like you got to find people that understand that portion of real estate, because it is going to continue to get more hyper local as we see this gig economy and this separation of the 9 to 5 versus I can work wherever I want or I can rent wherever I want. Like, it's important to find somebody that understands that.
To solidify where you're going with this is when he says, look for a realtor that knows what they're doing. If he's not asking you where you do life or what's important, then we have a problem, because that's a question that I ask. Do you want to be near schools, your job, or where you do life? Well, what does that mean? Where do you do life? Where do you have entertainment? What's the important part?
Are you in the
we go
mountains
from
or
there.
you're in the city?
Mountain city, restaurants, amenities, whatever the case may be, close to your kid's school. They know what the hell they're.
Can I give you guys a real life example?
Yeah.
Just real quick. So I had a consult over the phone with some buyers that currently live north of San Francisco, right? They've lived there for 10, 12 years. The girl went to see Boulder with me, so I knew her for the 4 years that we were out there, but they've lived there forever. She just got laid off from a job. They want to move to Colorado, and they're asking me, like, where should we live? To Oscar's point, my first thing was, well, it depends. What's important to you guys? Like, what do you guys want? I want community. I've got kids, but I also love the mountains, blah, 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 blah.
Littleton.
Right? So, but in
Lakewood.
a previous life, was somebody that was tied to an office, my goal would be like, hey, the city that is closest to your office that allows you access to the mountains. That would be the conversation. The conversation I had with them is, you guys have flexibility. It depends on if you have to be in office, how long do you want to commute, and what amenities would you need in a certain area that would negate the commute. And they went, I've never thought about that before. That's a really good question. So the beauty of it is, and also the craziness is, they're moving back to Colorado within the next 6 months. Their criteria is essentially the entire metro area.
Dope.
Because they don't know. And
Dope.
they haven't been out here for 10 years. So our job as realtors, and I told them, hey, come out. Let me know where you're here for a weekend. We'll just go explore the city, see where you guys feel comfortable based on if your job is remote, your husband's job may be in-office related, you've got 2 kids that are entering kindergarten age. There's a lot of factors now that we have to consider that we didn't have to consider 5-6 years ago.
They like the mountains.
Yep.
So they need to go check out 463 Beaver Trail in Bailey, Colorado. It's 45 minutes outside of Denver.
Yeah, the problem is, hey, he's got to commute to Aurora off of 225.
It is 45 minutes to 50 minutes to Aurora.
That's awesome.
I'm just saying.
That's awesome.
I got a listing
yeah.
for you, baby.
I think
Let's go.
That's a
Good for
real
you,
world
Oscar.
example of people
Yes.
going like, hey, I want to move to Colorado, but I want all of these things. It's going to dictate where you go, and there could be communities
3/4 acre
that you
in a
would
community.
never consider
Charlie took the pictures, did a great job.
There you go. That was
just
great.
saying.
That was great.
based on
All right.
previous
So
criteria.
That's
all.
our one wrong takeaway. That's very concise.
Oh, wait,
and
45
should-
minutes from... Wait. Breckenridge. You get to Breckenridge in 45 minutes.
That's our one wrong takeaway. That is a concise.
An hour from South Park, Colorado.
Under a minute.
I'll keep going.
I love it. But
Hyper locality.
great
That's my one
conversation today, guys. Great topic. Great conversation. If you're listening, drop in the comments. What do you think is going to happen? Is the gig economy going to help or hurt real estate? Let us know what you think. We'd love to talk with you about it. Have a bourbon over it, however that goes. But let's go ahead and move into our bourbon review for today's episode. And I'm gonna be real with you guys. I'm excited because I never had to rate Buffalo Trace. I never had to talk about it in a way that I had to prove its value.
It's kind of like the soft drink Coca-Cola, right? Mm-hmm. They've been around forever. It is what it is. You either like it, you hate it. You really can't hate
Oscar,
this.
You say, hold on. You say the soft drink?
Yeah. Is
You-
it not a soft drink?
You didn't say pop or soda. You said
No,
soft
I went
drink.
soft drink because it's a thing. We used to call
Also,
it
I'm
pop.
going to use that analogy for my rating, so be ready.
Wow.
You know,
Okay.
Wow, I haven't heard that.
So again,
Wow.
I lived in Florida, and when I called soda
said soft
pop,
drink.
they kind of lost it. And then I went to Minnesota or Michigan, I can't remember. And it was soda pop, and I was like, all right, what the hell's
What
going
are
on
we doing here?
Yeah, what are we doing here?
That's
Anyway,
awesome.
I
But
got
no,
keep
such
going.
a
Sorry.
good analogy
I'll-
for this. It's not even
I'll
funny.
tell it's.
I have such a good analogy.
I guess, and again, I've never sat with Buffalo and actually let it open, let it breathe. And the craziest part for me has been that the burn is still kind of there on the nose, but the flavor has completely opened up. Mm-hmm. Like the profile we said it was sweet, and then it went and flowed into a little bit of spice. Now I'm getting spice up front, rolling into that cinnamon kind of sweetness.
yours has opened up way more than both of ours. We poured a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Burn is gone.
Yeah?
even in mine.
Really?
Yeah,
mean-
I'd be interested in what you think about JC's.
It was
because,
bourbon to the fullest.
Yeah, the burn.
Now
For me, the
it's-
burn's gone.
It's bourbon without the burn.
Yeah, JC's is gone.
It's
Yeah.
kind of like, I mean, if I had to say, it's like drinking sweet tea.
It's
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
You enjoy it. It's good. You know what you're drinking. Sweet tea never dissipates.
Yep.
It holds strong until the last drop. That's kind of where this is.
And it's incredible because you can get this for $32 a bottle.
Well, not this one.
No,
but
this bottle's a
in
little bit
general.
bigger, but the standard Buffalo Trace bottle.
So this is kind of like,
Can I go first?
we can't really rate this one
No, I'm
because
gonna
it's
rate
not
it.
like,
No, yeah.
well, I'm not saying we can't compare this to your run-of-the-mill Buffalo Trace, which is really good.
Right.
I really enjoy Buffalo Trace.
And again,
Wherever you
Oscar,
buy
you
it.
make a great
But this
point.
one's
Oscar,
a special Buffalo
Yes,
Trace.
you make
No,
a great point
I know.
that this was specifically selected by Chris and Pindustry in the Rouge for its flavor profile. And Chris said it right, like I said, when he handed me the bottle, he goes, "I chose this one because it's different from regular Buffalo Trace." Go for it, Jamo.
All right. So, do you both enjoy Coca-Cola?
I enjoy it more
Yeah.
in my Jack.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying,
Yeah.
just in general, not
Yeah.
with Jack. Just do you enjoy Coca-Cola?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a difference between Coke out of a can and Coke out of a McDonald's
Yes, absolutely.
fountain?
And a
Which
glass
one's better?
bottle.
Which one's better?
Have a can.
No.
I'm
I
going
mean,
can all the
Oh
time.
my God.
I don't know if
no.
it's because
Maybe
I'm eating
it's
the
because
fries,
I-
but
Oh,
maybe-
dude.
I
no.
mean-
Maybe because
Out
I
of-
worked in
yeah.
fast food and I'm not one to go with what they don't clean those little
Stop
spouts.
it. Just put
But-
that at what tastes better.
It's gonna have yeah.
It's out of the fountain.
Out of the
right?
fountain, yeah.
There's something about
Yeah.
McDonald's fountain Coke,
And it's less carbonated.
even though it's the same thing, right?
Same yeah.
I enjoy Buffalo Trace. The Private Barrel Select to me is like drinking Coke out of a McDonald's fountain versus a can.
That's a great analogy. I like that. No, you're right. You said it. That is a perfect analogy because this one, it's I've drank Buffalo Trace. I've probably had
Oh my God. I've
over
had
20 bottles of Buffalo
easily.
Trace.
Yeah.
Like, easy.
Yeah, easily.
And this one is different.
in 1 year.
No,
I mean, there was a time.
I mean, there was a time.
Like I said, we
It
all
might
have
have been
those
in a couple
moments where
months
you-
for
There was a
me.
time.
there's you come home and you see the bottles on display or in the cardboard box that you're getting ready to throw out, and you go, maybe
Yeah.
I need to consider some things. But no, and 100%. And I think this is the first time that, in all honesty, like I had a baseline to compare
Right.
to
Yes.
a barrel select or a barrel pick, and I love the fact that it is a different experience
Yes.
because I would honestly, guys, I'd love to sit here and tell you this is all bullshit. You're paying more because it's a barrel select. It's whatever. No,
You are.
this solidified in it for me. Barrel selects have a difference, and if you have somebody like Chris
That knows what they're doing.
that knows what they're doing, you can get a totally different experience from the same exact company, same exact brand,
product.
and bottle.
Hence, McDonald's fountain versus canned
Yep.
Coca-Cola.
All right. So what's
It's
your
different.
what's your
I'm
rating?
gonna go 2.5.
2.5.
Yep.
Okay.
Like I said, it's Buffalo Trace. It is always going to be good. The Private Barrel Select adds another layer. Do I think it's as good as Old Soul or what we had last week? No, it's completely different. But would I recommend this at the price point to anybody and everybody? 10 out of 10 days, 100%.
Yep. Well, here and one thing I want to hold on. I want to do so. I've only done one pour, but when JC's without movement, it's empty. Like there's when I say empty, there's no burn to it. But just swirling my glass around, right? Actually getting it, covering more surface area, I still get the burn. So I just want to swirl JC's around a little bit, see if I can force it to open. No, well, kind of, on the bottom of it,
So,
like right at the front of your nose. It's still there.
what did you already score it?
No, I haven't scored it yet.
You said
Yeah, the burn's
2.5.
gone. The burn is evaporated.
With mine, just here, swirl it and then
2.5?
stick your nose in.
Final answer.
It's kind of still there, right? It's weird.
Yeah, it's still there in the back.
Yeah,
It is. Still there in the back.
And again, we wanted to hold at least some structure.
It's
if
not
you
as
will.
much, but it's still there in the back.
You want to hold some structure when it comes to your bourbon,
Right? It's
Whether
more flavor, less
there's
burn.
a difference
Yes.
between
Yeah.
opening up and just neutralizing.
No,
Yes.
if anything,
Right.
what happened was the ethanol evaporated, which got rid of the burn.
Yep.
But the flavor
Yeah, there's still
profile-
some even on the nose. There is still some.
Some.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
the flavor profile did accentuate. Like I think this is the example of what when you say, "Oh, this bourbon
that's-
opened." I think this is.
I
the
mean,
example.
I would tell,
Jesus,
Cane down.
criminy.
I would tell you at.
It's like real maple syrup, right?
Did he tell you
It's
what the cost was for this? Like,
For here.
yeah.
So you guys ready for this? You can walk out of here with this bottle for $40
All day.
all day.
All day.
0.7.
Right? Isn't that crazy?
So
0.7. Absolutely
you said-
0.7. I might walk out with a bottle today.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's 0.7. Oh, not on my wallet.
so
0.7.
I got you.
0.7. Hey, I'll Venmo you.
Got you, baby.
so
No, I'm gonna really
Yeah.
done.
Yeah. I might.
I'm
even
going to
do it
walk
too,
out with
just
one.
to-
I shouldn't, but I'm
At
going
$40,
to.
dude. I mean, you can buy this not barrel select for $39.
All right. So the analogy of the Coca-Cola, I have a different. I'll use same Coca-Cola. It's the
Fancy.
difference between Coke out of a can and
Mexican Coke.
Mexican Coke.
I knew it.
Yeah. That's why I was
There's a
surprised-
huge difference.
that's why
There is.
I was surprised you left out the glass bottle.
Well,
I
no,
mean-
because you can have a glass bottle. It's not Mexican
You're
Coke.
right,
It's
you're
very
right,
different.
you're right.
Right? Because
So-
they use actual sugar cane.
Yes. You're right.
Very
Mexican
different.
Coke and
Yes.
Coke out of a can. This is definitely the Mexican Coke. It's tried and true. It's one of my favorites.
Yes.
So it does play on that string. This does taste different.
It does.
Charlie is not BS.
No, it does.
It is different from your, like, you're never going to get two bottles that taste the exact same unless they're the same barrel.
Right.
This one actually does taste just a little better.
Different. Yeah.
A little better, a little different. The price point, again, I always reference Zarales. Zarales was a sommelier when the Twin Towers were still up, and he had a book called Windows to the World, and it was a great read. One of the paragraphs in the opening was a good wine is not its rarity or or how much it costs. It's what's good to your palate. Buffalo Trace has always been my palate.
Yeah, agreed.
It's a great bourbon.
Yeah.
It's a good. I called it the gold standard. For the price, it's really good. This one's phenomenal. I really enjoyed it. Drinkability, price point. I'm giving it a 1.8.
I love it. I love it. We got a 2.5. We got a 1.8. I think I'm gonna be like
Right
I
in the
said,
middle.
Well, no, yeah. Honestly,
Yeah.
honestly,
It's
only
a good
because
bourbon.
this is the first time that I've legitimately saw value in a barrel select
Yeah.
in getting to taste it and then choosing the bottle. And the first
Well,
time, that
especially
I've-
because we've had non-barrel
Yes.
select and barrel select.
Yes.
It's a difference.
Exactly.
And I
That's
think
what
the
mean.
higher end
I agree.
stuff, I think the margin of difference is smaller.
Which
Yeah.
makes sense, right? Because realistically, like I see
They're
the
putting a
higher
lot of
end
money
stuff-
into those high end stuff.
Like
Yeah.
an E.H. Taylor to me is a barrel select Buffalo Trace.
Yes.
Right? Because they're trying to pick out the specific.
so to
flavors.
get better from something really good is hard.
yes,
This
especially
one's
at $40
good.
bottle.
I would love to
but
taste
it's
this.
broad good.
I'd love to taste this next to an E.H. Taylor.
I mean, I got.
I like to taste this too.
Hey-o.
I'd like to take this bottle and then buy a regular
Yeah.
Buffalo Trace.
We should do so. Here, you know what? Give your rating first.
Okay, so I'm gonna. Say
We're gonna
my-
buy one from here,
Yeah,
and
my
then
rating-
we'll test it.
Yeah,
Well,
my
I'm-
rating for this guy, I'm gonna
I'm
sit.
Venmoing Charlie today.
I'm gonna sit for at a 2.2, a 2.3 on this guy. Like I said, specifically
Yep.
because the way that the complexity of the flavor goes, plus the cost and price, and the fact that it is a true different experience from regular Buffalo Trace.
Yeah.
100%. That
Which again, in my
Yeah.
wheelhouse, Buffalo Trace, regular run of the mill Buffalo Trace,
Mm-hmm.
it sits about a 2.5.
Yeah.
So
You know,
we
3.
should do this, and I did this with Joey, at his Missouri house. We took E.H. Taylor, Buffalo Trace, Eagle Rare, Pappy, and one more. I forget what it was. We did 5, and we went to his basement. He has all of them, and he poured all 5 for 5 people,
blind.
and we did a taste test.
We're gonna do that.
And the crazy part was, I will tell you this: the number one, or the one that was rated the worst out of all 5.
Blanton's?
Oh, and Blanton's. Blanton's one of them. Yeah, so that was 5. E.H. Taylor, Buffalo Trace, Eagle Rare,
Pappy.
Blanton's, Pappy. Eagle Rare 10-year was the one that was
worst.
rated the worst.
But to be quite
It
honest,
was, but it was a completely blind. Like he didn't let us know. He just poured them all, every single one of us, and we had them in all different orders. So it wasn't like you could see the reaction, and then we had to rate every single one on a scale of 1 to 5.
if I'm being
Yeah, we're
100%
doing
with
it.
you,
We're doing it.
I like Eagle Rare. It's a good bottle, but I don't think it's high end.
I don't know.
I really don't.
I'm not saying it's high end. I'm just saying
it's
like,
good, but most bars hold it as their top shelf.
I'll also tell you that
I
Pappy-
don't like Eagle Rare.
For what it is,
Pappy
it's good. It's not
was
bad.
a 15 year.
Yeah.
Was not number one.
No, I had a 12-year Pappy last year.
It better be like EH.
And
EH is really good.
Yeah.
I could.
All right.
EH
I-
is one.
we could
We're gonna do
literally
it, dude.
we could
We're gonna
literally
do it.
talk about this.
We're gonna do it.
Especially with how amazed I am. We could literally talk
Yeah.
about this forever. But like we said, guys, thank you
I'm
so
not going
much
anywhere,
for
clearly.
thank you so much for
least not
following
fast.
along with us, commenting, liking, subscribing. We're gonna try and pick it up for you guys on the bourbon side, also on the real estate side this year. We got stuff going on behind the scenes. But thank you for sticking with us and being a part of this journey with us. Please like, follow, subscribe, whether that's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever it is. Thank you for being a part of this journey with us. We appreciate you more than you know, really. So with that being said,
I got us 10 subscribers, by the way.
I love it.
I was networking and I made sure they subscribed.
Let's
I got
do
on
it.
their phone.
Let's
so
do
if
it.
let's tell me if they did or they
Oh yeah.
did it.
Oh yeah. No, we've increased. That's what I'm saying over the last couple months.
I'm just saying that's why at the beginning, that's why I've been.
It's gone up. It's gone up. But you can find all of us and get in touch with us, talk about bourbon, talk about real estate, talk about investments, whatever you want at our own individual social medias. Oscar?
Right now, you know what? Mile High Perspective, go on and subscribe. That's where you could get a hold of me.
I love it.
Real Estate Served on the Rocks. Come on, let's subscribe, see how high we could get this thing going, just because I want to see what we can do with this.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. You can find me at Charlie Sardelli. That's across the board. I finally made the switch. Whether that's video production, real estate, whatever it may be, you want to talk about bourbon, I'm more than happy. But I'm going to back Oscar on that. We are the Mile High Perspective. We're all together, and we want to take you on this journey with us as we grow, as we learn more. And again, we got some really fun stuff coming. So yeah, JMO.
Same thing. So the Colorado real estate guy and everything, but the Mile High Perspective on YouTube. Real Estate Served on the Rocks as far as the podcast goes.
Let's try to make this blow up because I would love to do fun stuff. There's a lot of stuff that we would love to do one time,
Give me
and we got jobs.
Give me Mr. Beast money, and we could buy land.
Oh, give me Mr. Beast money. I will build a few houses
Dude,
for
fuck
you
yeah.
guys.
I'll do. What we should do is he's got
My
his,
designs are great, by the way.
Listen, bro, he's got his Fortnite bus.
Yeah.
We have a whiskey tasting bus.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll drop
And
it off
cigar
at
lounge.
different
Oh, all right.
locations, and then
Steve,
we'll
we're
stock
coming for
it.
you. Steve, we're coming for you.
Just saying.
We'll
All right,
stock it.
But with that being said, guys, you can always reach out to us, RESOTR at themilehighperspective.com.
Yep.
Email anytime. You could text or call us at.
720-584-3361.
And as always, guys, please drink responsibly. Enjoy your bourbon. Enjoy any spirit that you're going. We'd love to see you here at the Rouge. Have a bourbon with you. Have a cocktail. And we will catch you on the next episode.
Subscribe. See you soon.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Salud.
Y'all got to come
Bye.
Come by.